Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, today it's the one you've all been waiting for, the mother of all kits that we've been waiting for from Airfix. And they've also, it seems like they've sent me a free Toblerone. So it's of course it's the Mark 9C Spitfire. Going to get straight into it. The plane itself needs really no introduction, so I'm not going to mess about today. I'm going to open my Toblerone and have some chocolate and see what's happening. This has just arrived literally minutes ago, and I'm not sure how I'm going to get into my Toblerone. Isn't this nice? It's in my Toblerone. Look at that. That's cool, isn't it? Well, obviously Airfix, this is their biggest release of the year. Come on, let me into my Toblerone. Oh, it's not chocolate after all. Just put that to one side. It's not chocolate. I'm a little bit disappointed. Oh, now then, it's a poster. Look at that. Look at that. The Spitfire Mark 9C, D-Day, June the 6th, 1944. And that's very frameable. It's got that bit behind there. But that's nice, isn't it? And they've packed it very well. And actually, there's method in their madness, because it meant that they could probably pack it with a little bit less of the extra bubble wrap that they normally have, and that I had such trouble getting into when we had the Airfix Anson. That's a really nice bit of artwork though, yeah? So that's the same artwork that's on the cover, I believe, of the box, but we shall see in a moment or two. So, don't get any tape on it. So, without further delay or ado, he says, having much ado in fact. Let's get that back in there, and there we are. Nice, very nice poster indeed. So that's definitely very collectible and frameable. Now then, put that to one side. Let's get down to the main event, the unboxing. So, I have to say that the box is not as big as I expected. I actually saw them at Telford at the Scale Model World Show, and I thought, is that really the actual box? Because it doesn't look that huge. I thought it was going to be massive. It would seem not. It seems that they've gone and found a way to do it a little bit more, perhaps a little bit more subtly than usual. Oops, carefully. It doesn't take 3 minutes like last time trying to find my tape. Yeah, I was right. They've actually used the Toblerone wrapping style for the poster to mean that they could have a much simpler packaging. Here we go! Ta-da! The one that we've all been waiting for, Airfix's big fanfare release. It's the Mark 9C Spitfire. Let's have a little look and get straight into this straight off the dispatch courier's hands. Here we go. So, starts off with a bit of history. It says the Spitfire enjoys a legacy which is stronger today as it was during the wartime years. Modern monoplane fighter aircraft in its time, Spitfire would earn its legendary reputation during the Battle of Britain, when the pilots of the Royal Air Force stood defiantly against the overwhelming might of the all-conquering Nazi Luftwaffe. An aviation beacon of hope for a nation and its people during their darkest hour. Elegant and graceful to look at, the Spitfire's appearance masked the fact that this is a deadly fighting aeroplane, which was adaptable enough to undergo almost constant development throughout the wartime years, because it's the only plane, I think, on the British side that ran the whole way through the war, isn't it, I think? The Mark 9 variant was arguably the most important of all the Spitfire's marks in the entire production run, and hence, because of that, it's somewhat surprising to learn that it was actually something of a stopgap development. One of the major features of the new Spitfire was a powerful new version of the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, and it was proposed that fitting this new engine to a Spitfire Mark 5 airframe would give give the fighter a more welcome performance boost. The first 100 Spitfire Mark 9 fighters were actually Mark 5C airframes adapted to take the new Merlin 61 two-stage, a two-speed supercharged engine, with this combination producing a thoroughbred fighting aeroplane, one which was more than capable of challenging the then dominant FW190 and the latest F variant of the Messerschmitt Bf109. In fact, the new Spitfire was considered so successful it became the second most heavily produced variant in the entire production run, including the aircraft powered by the license-built Packard Merlin 226, the Mark 16 Spit. in production numbers. This emergency stopgap actually became something of an aviation classic, and you have got the choice of, as you can see, we have got here Squadron Leader Johnny Plagius, Persian Gulf Squadron, Royal Air Force at Harrowby in Devon, and that's the one that's on the cover of the box. Or you can have Ian Kelty's aircraft, a 402, City of Winnipeg, Royal Air Force Kenley at Surrey in March of '43. Or perhaps one of the most famous of all, James Edgar Johnny Johnson, number 402, also City of Winnipeg Squadron. And then finally, there's two more. There's an American variant, which is Captain Garth Jared, commanding officer of the 309th Fighter Squadron, based in Italy in December '43. And then lastly, but not least, oops, trying to get this into the frame, we've got the Free French Armée de l'Air, Lieu-le-Bain in France in early 1945. Wow, there we go. So, and I have to tell you, can you see that? The Airfix logo in the middle of the, I don't know if that's showing up too well in the packaging actually. They've got the Airfix logo, it's actually embossed into the bottom of the box. Never seen that before. Not too sure if that's coming up on the camera at all, or not. Trust me, it's there. Very nice touch. So, well, we've waited a long time for it. There's a little bit of CAD photography on the side. Less said about that, the better. Now, this is a very important fact about this model kit. It is entirely made in the UK, apart from the decals, which are cartograph, I believe. Tooling 2022, and I know exactly where this is made. I won't actually name the company because I'm not sure Airfix would want me to, but it's made just near Eastbourne, in a company in New Haven. So there we are, a British made kit at long last. This is very exciting. Let's have a look at it then. So let us just, oops, to damage the box if we can. It's quite thick tape, isn't it, that they use? That's it, we got it. Now, the box is really quite modest. It's a deep box, chunky box. I like it actually as a design, but it's not quite what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be something absolutely enormous. So, there's only two tape tabs at either end. Come on, is it? Oh my goodness! Wow. Okay. So, put that there and that there. So we start off with the lower wing, sprue B, sitting on its own. Put that over there and it's not going to get damaged. And then we've got, oh, they've interleaved it. It's not actually in, oh, it's not all in bags. Some of it's in bags and some of it isn't in bags. So they've interleaved it with basically brown paper, unusual. Are they trying to pretend they're not using plastic bags? It does look nice. Anyway, we'll get into the details in a minute. It does look good. Got good vibes about this one again. I think Airfix have turned a bit of a corner for us, haven't they? Right, okay, this brown paper is very odd. Not sure what possessed them to go that route. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I think they're trying to save plastic. Right, plastic bag. And then we get, I think, 2 sprues. Wish they wouldn't do that, to be honest. 2 sprues to a bag. Airfix, come on. I think I like the brown paper idea better, to be honest. Oh, no, we've got 1 sprue in that bag, that's okay. Bit of a mix and jumbled up sort of system I've got. Some's got 2 sprues, some's got 1 sprue. Brown paper. Odd. Like the Eco Warriors have been in there and laying the law down or something. And then, just get it up, we have got the decals. And there you have it, the Airfix logo. Can you see that? That's actually reversed out. So the Airfix logo is actually so you see it on the back. I like that, that's quite a classy touch. Very, very nice. Right. Don't damage the sprues. Right. I think we'll start with the decals, because I always do. Let's have a look at these. Ooh, they look absolutely stunning. Look at this. Oh, yes. Are they printed by cartograph? Does it say? It doesn't actually say, does it? So maybe I'm wrong. Not too clear about that, actually. Interesting. Normally they would say. Anyway, we've got all your traditional Spitfire stencils. We've got the beautiful dark blue roundels. You've got the 2 types, the under wing roundels and the side roundels with the yellow round. Johnny Johnson's, and then the Americans, French, and what was that other option? French option. Oh yeah, it's the underwing French ones. Yeah, and very, very sharp, very, very bright looking decals. Nothing wrong with these at all. They are gorgeous looking decals. Not too sure who designed these or whether they were in fact UK production or not. Interesting here, you've got Major Jared. This is the American plane. I don't know if you can see that, but there are other names of other pilots there as well as himself. So I guess he was sharing his aircraft with a couple of guys. Three of them altogether, I think 4 of them. Oh, interesting. But very, very beautiful decals. Zoom out a bit. Very, very nice indeed. Very sharp, beautiful colours. Got seagull here. I think that's the Winnipeg squadron, isn't it? Popeye, the sailor man here. Look at that. Gorgeous, gorgeous decals, I've got to say. What's not to like? You've even got the gun covers for the machine guns out beyond the cannons on the wing there. That's very, very nice. Okay, that's a really good start. Let's have a look at the instructions then. So, back in there. Instrucciones. Just I'm going to run out of space with this one, I can tell. Now then. Not going to read all the blurb because we've kind of got that already. We know about Spitfires, don't we, I think. So we've got colour call-outs here. And we have Johnny Johnson's, first of all, based at Kenley. Kenley, down in Kent. Is it Kenley? I'm racking my brains with my geography. I think it's down in Kent. Shows all the colour call-outs. Very clear, very nicely done. On the other side we've got the American 309th Fighter Squadron. And this is the... sorry, zoom in a bit. This is the Garth Jared. Interesting how they've got this sort of deliberate shadow where the RAF roundels would have been, so they've been painted over. Interesting. And obviously got stars and bars instead. Lower port wing, underside, upper wing. Yeah, and it gives you like a template, so you can actually, for the lower, you've got the shadow on the lower wing as well here. There. That's quite interesting. This was finished in the Desert Air Force colours of dark earth, midstone and Asia blue. Some question this and suggest the day fighter scheme of dark green, ocean grey and medium sea grey. Some areas of the aircraft appear to have been repaired and resulted in a mismatch of paints. Okay, gosh. RAF roundels are usually overpainted in fresh camouflage colours. Dimensions are provided for you to cut masks. Well, there you go. Okay, that's that one. Similarly with the French scheme. L'Armée there. And here we go, same situation. You've got a mask for your for the upper wing. Lower wing, there is no mask or shadow for the roundels. Does look a tad odd, doesn't it? When you see that. Yes, it's curious. Can you see it? There's sort of a roundel shadow around it. But that's very nice. Very pretty scheme. So actually it's the French one that's got the Courier and the Seagull. And then we have got, oops, Johnny Plagius's aircraft. What's my Union Jack falling out? Johnny Plagius, that's Persian Gulf Squadron, Harabir in Devon, and this is your true typical D-Day black and white invasion stripes markings. Try not to make them too perfect, folks, because they often weren't. Full invasion stripe on fuselage and wings. Aircraft not flown by Plagius at this time. That's interesting. I wonder if he was injured. Interesting, isn't it? Because I think that some squadrons ran them just for a week or two around the D-Day invasion into Normandy. Others ran them, well, some of them ran them throughout to the end of 44, I think. Here we go, research notes. Black and white invasion stripes on number 126 squadron aircraft appear to have been a non-standard width of around 10 inches, and it was repeated also on the wings. So I think that's a bit narrower than they usually are, isn't it? Are they normally 12 inches? And it says, photos from this period show other 126 squadrons with overwing stripes. So the choice is down to the modeller. Okay. Optional decals for ML214 in December 44, when a black-white invasion stripe on the wings were removed and additional markings were applied, seemingly for publicity purposes. And kill markings appear to have been removed at this point. The cannon barrels were painted black and white. Oh wow! Which is what they're showing here. It's quite interesting. There's good research here. This will be Luke Airfix doing the research, I expect. And it's Chris who designed the model, by the way. The cannon barrels are painted black and white, and the spinner appears to have been finished in white with a sky rear plate. White, the sky rear plate. How interesting. And that's around the time of the Ardennes offensive, of course. So whether that's something to do with, I don't know, particular choice they had for the Ardennes offensive, not sure. And then finally we've got the Ian Kelty, the City of Winnipeg Squadron, the registration AEB, and it's got Popeye the Sailor Man. On the port nose section, on the Merlin cover there, Popeye, as you can see. There he is. And it says here, it's believed to have been, the maple leaf is believed to have been red on a white disc, but an alternative is provided. See notes on Johnny Johnson's aircraft. Oh, okay. Johnny Johnson's aircraft, that's got me interested in there. Oh yes, his was green. His was green, Johnny Johnson's, on white. Interesting. Very good. Like the way they've done that. Lots of excellent research. Thank you, Airfix. Right. And without further ado, zoom back out again. And just pause for breath for a second. Have you seen how thick this is? This is like, I buy magazines that are thinner than this that, you know, pay £8-9 for. This is huge. How many pages are there? 44 pages there are. Wow. Okay, so let's get into it. Usual intro, talks about paint colours and things you're probably going to need, and then we get straight into it and we start off. I'll zoom in. We'll need to see this closer, I think. I'll try and be as quick as I can because there's a lot to get through here, so bear with me please, folks. So, starts off with the cockpit decals position, showing all the instrumentation, and then it's got everything, including the throttle controls. You've got the oxygen bottles here, various little nameplates and data plates that are on the side of the cockpit, and then it starts the construction here. So we're going to be beginning with the seat and the seat frame. Then there's an armour plated sheet here. Armour plating goes on the back. Fairly conventional way to start this. Then we've got some what looks like plastic seat belts. Not sure about those. We'll see what the plastic looks like. I'm just expecting them to be a bit thick. And then we've got, I'm trying to remember all the controls in the Spitfire from memory, because I built the Tamiya one, of course. We've got the, maybe is that the gear? I can't remember what the lever is. It looks like a handbrake, but I'm sure it isn't. And then we've got the bulkhead that goes behind, that the actual seat affixes to. And then we're starting to build up all the framework into the bulkheads and various equipment to do with, I think it's the oxygen system. Then you've got your instrumentations coming in here onto the forward instrument bulkhead, showing how that goes in underneath. And of course Airfix did this thing where when they show red it means that's the stage you've just completed already. Then we've got what looks like the throttle control. No, it's not the throttle control, is it? That's the landing gear, I'm pretty sure. Landing gear. We've got the pedals going in. They're doing it very sensibly though. They're doing it very simple steps, small items, not dozens and dozens of parts all going in one stage. So they're very simple stages, these. There's a lot of stages, obviously. In fact, I'll tell you, there are 244 stages. I better speed up, haven't I? So then we're putting in the seat fixed to that rear bulkhead, and then the further framework that goes further back behind there. And then we're putting in our, interesting, we've got what is obviously the plastic seat belts going in. Looks interesting, this. I'm eager to see what that's like. And then we've got our stick, obviously, our yoke. Stick, isn't it, in the Spit. Completely gun button on it. And then you've got all your controls, like your throttle control, trim controls here. Oxygen bottles going in here. And then we've got all the various trim wheels, various side controls on the side of the cockpit. And here we have, I have to say one criticism, it's only a small thing, but I do prefer it where Tamiya tell you, so I'm making this up as I go along from memory of making the Tamiya kit. But it would be nice if they would tell us, yeah, we've talked about this a lot recently, haven't we, about instructions. It would be nicer to be told, so younger people or people who've never built a Spitfire before know exactly what all these levers and controls are. I think that's a little bit of an omission. I know why they do it, but I think that's poor. That's a tiny criticism. It won't put me off the kit, I don't think, but I think it's something they could change and improve in the future. Anyway, then you've got the this rear plate, which is obviously designed so there can be different versions at a later date. Then you have a section here, build the model of the canopy in the closed position. Use this jig to cut and file away the area highlighted in green. Okay, so this is a little clever. So this is a jig to enable you to cut away the section where the canopy will expose when it's open. I'll rephrase that. For when it's closed, you need to cut this area away. Because obviously the canopy is a different design, open and closed. And then we've got various other controls going on the side, and then we're bringing our cockpit section that's already completed in, and inserting that like so. Then we've got our oxygen supply feed tube, which goes to the oxygen bottles obviously. And then we've got the radio being constructed here. And that's going to go in on this little plane. It's very much like a scaled up version of the Tamiya kit in many ways actually. And then again it's talking about the door option. So you've got the door closed or door open. And then it says here, fit the door assembly toward the end of the build when building it with the door in the open position. Because obviously it's going to get damaged, so they're very sensibly telling you to leave it till later, which is what I would do anyway. Then we're building the final sort of parts are going in at the front. This is actually part of the fuel. That's the fuel cap filler, and then you're going to bring that in, and the two fuselage halves come together around the cockpit, and we've got our basic fuselage in place. Then you're building up the horizontal stabilizers and the elevators at the back, complete with I like this. They've got a separate trim tab on the elevator. That's nice. That's something you don't see very often. That's good. So that really gives you a little bit of, you can show it trimmed and it shows a little bit of animation, a bit of relief. Same with the rudder. You've got a trim tab on the rudder, and you've got the actuator rod for the rudder here going in, and then we're starting to work on the wing itself. Now this is saying here, remove the area highlighted in green from the lower wing. Pretty sure do this on the starboard side only. That's because it has a gun camera. I don't know why they've done it on both sides, that's curious. Maybe it's to make it symmetrical for the mould. But it's a gun camera port, pretty sure that is. Then you're building up a spar. And you're putting in more spars. Use subassembly 56 and part as alignment guide for building steps 58. Do not glue until you get to step 65. So you're not gluing this in, but you're putting it in to align things. That's so that the wing stays in the right alignment and position. And you're putting in spars. So there's a spar here, complete with the surround of the undercarriage bay. And this is quite clever. This is where Airfix have got really good at this idea of masks and spars and jigs. That's something that they're almost pioneering it now. They're certainly doing a lot more of it than other people. And again, it's telling you to same on here. Don't glue these things because you're using it as a jig to put in the gear bay. Hold each wing down on a flat surface while the glue dries to ensure that the bottom surface at the wing spar is straight. Hold the wing down on a flat surface. Okay, so they don't want you to get any flex in it, so that's quite good. Good idea. And then we suddenly jump to some of the further out spars, and then we've got the Hispano Cannon ammunition box here. So you've got to paint your bullets, which is cool. And then we've got putting all these spars in. Wow, I didn't expect that. So we're getting all the wing spars down the wing, and your ammunition boxes going in. And then you've got some. Is that cooling or fuel? I think it's cooling from the radiator. Okay, it's from the radiator box area, I think. Or is it hydraulics? Looks very thick, doesn't it? Looks more like cooling to me. And then you're doing the same on the opposite side. Everything's being repeated. Again, you know, it'd be helpful if they had a title to tell you what all these parts are, especially when we're not used to it as modelers, so we've only built, you know, more basic kit. Then you put in your Hispano cannons here, and your this is actually the drum, so they feed from a belt through a drum and into the gun itself, the feed drum. And then you've got your the Browning 303, I think, aren't they still on the outboard guns? Pretty sure they are on the Mark 9. And then you're repeating all this, exactly what you've just done, all onto from the starboard side. You then repeat it onto the port side. Sorry, other way around, port side and then starboard. And then you've got your gun covers going on, which is nice. It looks really cool. Gun bay doors can be left off to show the hidden detail. Yes, and why not? Then we have. Let's zoom out for this. Then we've got the fuselage meeting the lower wing surface, and then you're going to skin up your wings with the top wing, the cannon blisters and the gun port covers, and then you bring that top wing in like so. Then you're going to build up your this is the actual radiator. So this is what there's two radiators on the Mark 9, of course, on both sides. So both sides of the wing have it. So you're building up two of those, and you're putting that in, complete with the one or two cooling hoses that are going in there. And we get our wingtips going on, or if it's the clip wing version, I think it was the French version. It's the American version, I didn't pay attention. That's going on the end, or you put your conventional tips on the end on both wings. When building this model with all the cowling covers attached, there's no need to build the whole engine. So, follow steps 150. Well, you know, a 24 scale engine is something to be enjoyed, I reckon. So I'm not sure why I'd buy a 24 scale kit at £95 and not use the engine that's supplied. But anyway, well, each to their own, you know. So here we've got several parts that are not being glued. And it says use the engine assembly from step 116 as a jig when assembling parts K49, 51 and 68 in this step. Okay, use the engine assembly from step, so use it as a jig. So what they're saying is, even if you don't put the engine in, use the engine as a jig to make it align correctly. Or most of us, I think, are going to build the engine as you are seeing over here. And you've got your supercharger going in first of all, and you've got your air filter system. It's interesting, you actually build the lower engine first, the bottom engine, and then you'll do the rest later. And you've got your very advanced big air filter here, which is used in like North Africa or Italy, hot climates, or the standard one, which is the more conventional one. And then you're talking, well, what we've got here, of course, is our normal framework and the outer cowls, which are going to go in. Now it's showing that you should glue them. Doesn't say don't glue them, which is interesting. But I think that's if you are. Well, I think it's optional, isn't it? It doesn't really make that very clear, I don't think. Why would you glue them if you want to display the engine? That's curious. That's very curious. Have I missed something here? Did you all see something I didn't see there? I think it's talking about if you're just trying to fit it without the engine. But then, yeah, because you're using it as a jig and stuff. But then most of us are going to carry on and build the rest of the engine, as you see here. completely your Rolls-Royce logos on, which was not on the Tamiya kit, one thing that was omitted. So I actually put some nameplates on mine, which I got from Icon Air. Anyway, you won't need those here. And then you're building up your, obviously your fuel injection system. Oh, sorry, it's not injection, is it? Sorry, yes it is of course on the Mark 9, it's an injection system. Rather than the simple carburetor on the early Spits. And then you've got your cylinder heads going in together there, obviously, with the cam covers. And then we've got all these various controls that go on the front, including the cooling system and the exit shaft for the propeller drive, the main shaft, the crankshaft. And then you've got your this is the supercharger cooling box, if I recall correctly. I'm trying to remember all these parts. I'm rusty on the Spitfire. And then, yes, indeed, it goes on your supercharger like so. Building all that up, attaching all these parts to the back of the supercharger at the back of the engine, and then we get all this. This is where it really does leap forward ahead of the Tamiya, I think, the 132 Tamiya, because here we're getting all these fuel pipes, cooling pipes, injection pipes, fuel rails, etc., etc., which you don't get really on the Tamiya. There's a real lack of it in that kit, to be fair. So I added some of my own, but here it's all included in the kit. So then you're building up your oil tank here, that it's going to fit to the front bulkhead, and then you are use engine assembly from step 169 as a jig to help assemble parts. And this is what I mentioned at the beginning of the engine assembly, using it as a jig, and then you're making all the engine bearers, the supports that hold the engine weight, plus the cooling system which goes through there, feeds its way through. I've got to say, these illustrations are really excellent. They're really sort of almost Zokimura-like, I'd say. So hats off to the guys at Airfix on this. Cooling pipes going in. Finally, you're bringing. It looks like it might be a bit tricky as a fit. Not sure how else is going to fit in here. Could be quite tight. And then you've got these like header tanks and pressurization tanks that goes on the top. This is the part actually that I had to. These pipes are the ones I had to retrofit on my Tamiya kit because it wasn't included. Anyway, that's all going in. Underneath you're working on it. Then you've got your coolant tank underneath. You've got your front plate going on, and then you're bringing in your outer framework, which is the frame on which the actual cowls will fix, and it shows you how they all fit together. And you've got these little fillet pieces of the fillets that are going on the wing, which is quite cool. And then you've got your tropical filter here, or hot weather filter, intake and filter, or the standard intake and filter here. And those go on onto the chin underneath, and that then gets fitted. Then we've got all of these cowls coming on, including the top cowl. And then you build your exhaust. Now these exhausts look quite good, don't they? These are a fishtail style exhaust on the Mark 9, and don't be fooled by the fact that they probably have a little mark that looks like a seam line, which it's supposed to have. Somebody told me off on my Mark 9 and said, "You haven't cleaned that. You've not done a very good job on this. You haven't cleaned up the seam line on the fishtail exhaust." Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, but they actually have a weld fishtail seam on them anyway on the real aircraft. So there you go. So whatever you do, don't rub off any line you get down the centre. It's not a seam on the moulding, it's supposed to be there. And then we've got the flaps going on, open or closed, and you've obviously got the flap indicator tabs which are on the upper wing here and show the pilot whether the flaps are down visually. You get the actuator rods here which actually operate those flaps. And then we've got our ailerons, and then the cannons coming in, and then we're onto the gear, almost done really. So now building the landing gear, and I'm pleased to see that they've got an outer and an inner for the actual wheels and tyres instead of having them all as one piece. So that's quite nicely done, isn't it? So this is the sort of half of a, it's like a clamshell style, isn't it, where you only need to show half of it, so they've only made half. So the retracted version that goes in, plus a couple of locking tabs, and then finally you've got your gear doors going on. But if you're having the normal gear, you need to build up your conventional wheels and tyres, and I believe it's weight on wheels on these. I'll have a look in a minute. Building that up, putting it all together, bringing it onto the gear leg, and then putting your tyres on. Yes, it is weight on wheels, you can see it there. And then putting that on, and then we've got one or two actuator rods, control rods, part of the mechanism that operates the gear legs. Again, those tabs go on over the top, and then finally you bring your gear doors on top of your legs, building up your tail wheel, which looks nice, fitting that in there, and then you've got one or two little extras. You've got all sorts of clear parts here. So you've got the window that goes underneath where it's a landing light. Gun sight, it's going in. That's put on very late in the process, very wisely. Not like they normally do. They tell you to build that as part of the cockpit. Well, they've done this right at the end of the build. So that's the gun sight going in there. Then we bring in our canopy, open or closed, depending on what you decided earlier, and then it shows it in the two positions here. Then it tells you to put your door on, pilot's access door, and finally, wow, that seemed to go very quickly, didn't it, in the end? So finally we're building our propeller and spinner, and that's the last thing that we actually do. So we build up the two halves of the propeller blades, propeller boss here, the front of the boss, the locking front end of the boss, bringing that onto your actual propeller assembly, back plate goes on, and finally you put your spinner on. Wow, 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 wow. Well, I have to say, it looks pretty good, doesn't it, actually? But let's have a look at the plastic. Let's have a look at the plastic. Without any delay, we'll get straight into that now. So, we'll look at the ones that we've got out already. What I'm going to do, to stop us having light problems, I am going to do this, if I can, to try and bring our... I'm just going to try and force a situation where we don't have these camera focus issues that we sometimes get. Pop that there like that. Let's go. So, first of all, we have got the fuselage halves. Now then, what's it like? What's it like? Well, we've got a bit of a mould. I think it's just a line in the plastic. I don't think that's a shrink mark or anything. It's just where the plastic has cooled, probably at different rates. I don't think it's actually anything on the surface. Can you see it? See that line? I don't know if you can make it out on the camera. There's a very noticeable sort of wavy line, but I think it's just within the plastic itself. Can't feel anything. The panel detail is really, really nice. Really nice raised, I was going to say raised rivets, but they're not actually raised, they're recessed rivets. Very, very sharp though. Look at the sharpness of some of this detail here. All the way along you've got the access hatch here. Looks really nice. On the other side, of course, you have the doors. This is frame A. You've got your radio access hatch here. Yeah, and again we've got the same sort of mark in about the same place. It must be something to do with the way the plastic's cooled. It's come out of the mould. Don't think it's a problem. On the inside we've got some ejector pins here and there. I've got to say, here and here. Probably won't see that, but you might have to take care of that one. I think you will see that potentially looking through the where the frame is, the bulkhead frame. And again, a few more ejector pins. Not sure about that really. Here and here. Those you're not likely to see though, in all fairness. So I'll put that one aside. Pop it over there. Second one is frame B. Whoops, zoom you out. Sorry about that. Let's just zoom you away so you can see the whole thing. So this is the lower wing, and this is a mighty piece of plastic. Have a look at this. Now then, I'll do it from one side to the other. That does look rather impressive. Beautiful, fine details of the access hatches, the gun access hatches underneath. So you've got hatches underneath and on top of the wing for the guns on this aircraft. and that's beautiful. Look at the detail here, look at the fineness of it. Very, very finely moulded indeed. Oh yeah, look at the rivet detail. That's really, really nice. Look at that. I can see all those hatches, all the details. Nothing's, you know, there's no inconsistency in the way that they are from like right to left. Looks absolutely fantastic. Lots of ejector pins on the underside, but I don't think anything is really visible there. Unless you are looking through from the other hatch, gun hatches, but you can see the ejector pins there, can't you? But yeah, I think they'll be okay. I don't think it's going to be a problem. I don't want to be unreasonable about it. Then on the other side we have got the top wings, which is in two halves, of course. This is very much done in the Tamiya style in terms of design, except, of course, we've got full access hatches showing the gun ports, which we didn't have on Tamiya's, which was a bit of an omission actually. Of course, it was only 132, but still a bit disappointed on that. But look at the detail here. Beautiful, isn't it? That's really nice, actually. Really, really good. Yeah, that's really, really excellent, I've got to say. We've got the main spar support there. This is part of this alignment spar. The plastic's nice, by the way. It's this new harder plastic, and as we said, this polystyrene is injection moulded in the United Kingdom, in the south of England, in fact. So that's a bit of a step forward, I think. Let's put that away over here, and then we'll bring out some more sprues because there's a lot to see. What to see now? We'll have a look at this because it's sitting out on its own. This is the cowl for the engine cowl, and very Tamiya-like the way they've done this. It looks like it's been slide moulded. There are a lot of ejector pins in it though. One criticism I'd make: you couldn't sort of have it lying on its side or anything like that because you'd have to clean those up first. But the detail on it is beautiful. Can we see that? Can we see all the rivets? The fastener detail. That's very nice, isn't it? Yes. Yeah, that's really, really cool. They've done that nicely, in fairness. There's just a little bit of a concern about these ejector pins. Anyway, then we're on to the big ones. Now then, where to begin? Where do we begin with this? This is going to take us a few minutes, I think. Let's have a look. So, they've done here, they taped it. Well, at least it's not in a huge bag, like they often do with those oversized bags, oversized boxes and oversized bags. Now, here we have a tailored box and a tailored bag, so that is good. I just wish they would not put two sprues against each other in a bag. That's not my first choice at all. I'd rather they didn't do that, but anyway, let's just have them out and see what they think. Oops. So, here we have sprue G. Let's get you in nice and close to this. My zoom's a bit hesitant today for some reason. So we've got the wingtips and we've got lots of panels and similar detail going on here. Okay, so we've got the panels on the top of the wing, gun panel, and we've got the radiator panels, we've got the blisters. Those look really nice, don't they? Look at the rivet and fastener detail there. That's cool. Then we've got the radiator parts. We've got those little fillets at the front of the wings. We've got the wingtips. Beautiful ailerons. Those are really, really nice, I have to say. Look at that detail. That's nice. The alternative wingtips. Sorry, they're not alternative wingtips. That's the top. There was the bottom, and then we've got the top of the ailerons here. blister. Top of the ailerons. The other blisters, different types of blister, more radiator intakes. And then we've got the underside here. This is where the shell cases are ejected from the guns. Here we've got the cannons themselves. It looks nice. It looks quite almost Tamiya-like the way that it's finished. I'm going to pop that back in a bag straight away. I'll do that later. Okay, so here we've got a whole load of ancillary parts, including all these spars. We've got the ammunition that goes in the ammo box here. That's nice, isn't it? Look at the detail there. Wow. On the other side, another one. We've got the liners. We've got these many spars, many spars, framework spars. We've got the Browning machine guns here. And the Hispano cannon. That's the Hispano, that's the Brownings. Very nice. There's no flash. That's sprue F, by the way. No flash at all. Nice job Airfix with that. So I'll pop that one over there as well. I'm going to try and make too much of a mess. Then we have got. Oh, they've done this in a slightly different way. They're doing no two things seem to be the same. The bags are different. The packaging's a little bit varied, I think is the best way of putting it. Right. Okay, so wheels and tyres. Let's have a look at those first. Oh, these look gorgeous. Look at this. Now then. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of zoom trouble today. So here's the wheel hubs. Look at those. Very, very nice. Then we've got the wheels, if they're going to be retracted. Sorry, I lied. No, sorry, that's not quite right. Well, they're actually, now that's interesting. That's interesting. So they're actually weight on wheels. If you look, you can see the flat at the bottom. Just here and here. So it's weight on wheels, but they've got no bulge to them. Now, the Spitfire, I guess, wasn't a particularly heavy aircraft, but there's no sense of a bulge there. So a little bit surprised that there isn't at least a hint of it. Looks very straight down to me. So I'm not sure that's the greatest weight on wheels. I'm sure it's probably taken from an example aircraft, so maybe they just got high pressure tyres. Pumped up a bit hard perhaps. Here's your gear legs, and they are very chunky, aren't they? Look at those. You've got the tail wheel there, near my thumb. Then you've got your gear legs, which look really meaty. And you've got the actuators here. And then you've got this jig. This is the jig for cutting out the area when you're going to have the closed cockpit. You've got your radio antenna aerial here. Don't forget there's no wire on the Mark 9. There's no wire that goes to the back of the aircraft. And then we've got cannons over here. And various bulkheads and boxes and other parts over there. Then on the other sprue, this is sprue D. Zoom me back again. This is D. And here we've got all these little bulkheads and frames that form the reinforcement of the fuselage framing. Turn it over, we've got lots of detail here, including these rather interesting seat belts which I talked about. I wanted to see them. So Airfix have gone for plastic seat belts, and here they are. Now, how thick are they? Yeah, they're not bad. They're thick, thicker than something like an HGW belt. Can you see that? But they aren't too bad. They have done it. They've done it fairly well. I'm not sure. I like the way they formed them though. The detail with the straps. That's quite nicely done. I think it wouldn't look amiss at 24 scale. I think you can get away with it at 24 scale. I think at 32nd scale obviously that wouldn't work, but yeah. And then you've got all this beautiful wiring, looms. Look at that. And all your controls for your gear. Throttle control. There's the stick, look. Show you the wheel. There's the stick. And then we have oxygen bottles. Lots of other parts. You've got the lower fuselage here. And then here we've got the inner fuselage wall, which is interesting the way they've done that, isn't it? In fact, I'm wrong, that's internal. So this is the internal floor of the fuselage, I should say, this one. That's like a skin they've done to represent it as a separate piece. That's quite nice the way they've done that, actually. And then you've got all sorts of other things like that, gear controls and oxygen system. Very nice, very, very nice indeed. There's no flash, no silly things there I can see. So, moving on, we have got one of these, another curiously done one. We've done this a bit weird again. Sorry, I'll bring you out. Bear with me. Sorry about that. You're actually getting more green screen than ever. I'm trying not to do that if I can avoid it. And you've got more green than normal now. Huh. Yeah, they've gone for this really weird bag arrangement, but it's like crimped, so it's like a flap. Not sure about that. Airfix, please just put one. That we can live with, but just put one sprue in the bag. Don't put two in. Yeah, I'm not going to mark them down for that, I don't think. But they're improving, but they're still not there, are they? It's just. I mean, they're using lighter and thinner bags, so they can't be so bad for the environment, you know. Right, let's have a look at what we've got here. And its engine. Look at this. This looks good. This looks good. So, starting over here, we've got these fuel rails, which of course was so lacking on the Tamiya 32nd kit. Fuel rails and the electrical spark plug injector rails, wiring rail. Then you've got all these beautiful parts for the engine. Including the supercharger. You've got the cooling pipes, of which there are many various cooling components that go into the engine, and it sort of nestles around the engine. And you've got your fuel pressure bar on top of the engine here. Over here we've got these beautiful, these are nice, this is nice. What a leap forward this is on the old 24 scale Spitfire, my word. Look at the bearers there. You've got the engine bearers. Then you've got your supercharger components over here. And then we've got the cylinder heads. Not the main engine actually, that's the main block there. Here. Then we've got our cylinder heads. V12 of course. You've got the cooling jacket at the front. And then you've got your supercharger cooler here. And then we've got all these various parts and ancillary components, including the exhaust stubs. Now, Airfix, you've made a mistake here. Oh dear, this is the first thing I've seen I'm not that happy with actually. What they've done is the same mistake that Tamiya made. They've gone and put the sprue attachment point right in the face of the fishtail exhaust pipe. Why have they done that? Could they not have found a way? This is exactly what Tamiya did, and you've got to clean all this up. And it's actually a problem because, as I mentioned, this is a problem. Oh dear, I'm going to have to mark a point off for this, I think, or at least half a point. Because this, as I mentioned, the fishtails, they have a seam in the weld. Now you're going to, I can't even tell with my current glasses, you might see better than me, but you're going to have to somehow clean this up, which is going to be an absolute pain in the backside. And then you're going to have to think of how you represent that. You're going to lose the seam. So the fishtail weld, centerline weld, is going to be lost because they've gone and stuck the sprue gate attachment point right in the middle of it. I'm a bit disappointed. That's exactly what Tamiya did, and it was a nightmare to get it right. I did do in the end, but it's a lot of work, and it's going to be the same here. Why haven't they learned from Tamiya's error? Yeah. They needed to, yes, the attachment point, that side is good. This side, yes, fine. This side, no. Bad, bad, bad Airfix. I'm disappointed in you. Chris, what were you thinking of? Anyway, on to the next sprue, which is H. And here we've got all of the rudder, tailplane, vertical stabilisers, and of course what you have here, of course with the Mark 9, you get this sort of pointy tipped option, like a pointy hat almost, isn't it, style? Or here you've got the more conventional style, so you've got the two different styles there of the actual tip. Two different styles, one style, that's the other style. More conventional here, and the pointy one here. And then you've got your vertical, horizontal stabilisers, and there's again a couple of different styles of those. And of course you get different rudders depending on which style you've gone for. If you've gone for, it's actually showing, that's elevator, isn't it? Elevators. And then, yeah, there's two different styles of elevator as well, interestingly. So you've got a squared off end of horizontal stabiliser, or a more pointed end here. Very nice. Okay, and then last of the grey sprues already. We're near the end. Oh wow. Okay. Okay, here we go. And here we've got all these sections whereby. Oh, okay. So here we've got the chin underneath. Sorry, I'm just lost for words because Airfix have split it, which I didn't notice in the instructions. So they've split the chin section with the air intake on the chin, and they've put a split on it. Now they have keyed it. If you look carefully, I don't like things being split. That's a recipe for trouble, to be honest. Seams, bad joins, etc. Now they've got this like a keying system. Can you see that? Where it's got holes here and it keys into the. You've got male and female, and the idea is to key it, and it's got an overlap as well. So I'm trusting that they've done it well and they've thoroughly tested it, and it's going to give you a seamless join line. But I don't know why they've done that at all. Why they had to do that? Frankly, Tamiya didn't do that. I'm baffled really why they've gone for that option. It wouldn't be my first choice if I was to give them my experience modelling Mark 9 Spits in particular. Anyway, moving on. So we've got all the outer frame, which obviously has got the exhaust exits on it on both sides, and that looks very nicely done. Again, they're going for this Zokimura style where they've got the ejector pin sort of spigots that you cut off. So there's a few to cut off there. Then we have our outer cowlings, which look very beautiful actually. Look at that. That looks very nice. Very, very nice indeed. And then finally we've got the propellers. I'm a bit nervous about where they put the sprue gate connector points. A bit nervous about that. The cleanup's going to be very critical because they're so big. But they do look very, very beautiful, don't they? You see that? The shape of them, wow. Okay, and then we've got the spinner, which looks absolutely fantastic. Look at that. Yes, that's some nice work there from Airfix. I like the way they've done that. And the back plate here, nicely moulded as well. So yeah, very nice. I'm just a bit. I don't want to say disappointed because I haven't tried to build the kit. I'm sure that they will know that you don't go having joins in the middle of a paddle if you can possibly avoid it. And I can tell you the new Qatari Spitfire has avoided things like that by having drop-in sections. So there's no central join. Why would you create a central join when you don't need to? I don't really like that as a concept, I'm afraid. Anyway, finally, the very end, last but not least, it's the clear parts. And here we go. Let's have a look at what these like. Fairly critical, isn't it? There's quite a lot of clear. Canopy on a spit. What have we got? Is it going to be nice? Okay, here we are. Well, I've got some strange marks on my main bubble here. Not sure what that's all about. I seem to be unlucky lately with canopies. I'm still trying to resolve the issue with my Hobby Boss one. Oh, dropped off. Well, I'm not sure what that marking is. Can you see this? Sorry. Can you see the marks? Fairly clearly here. A little bit of scuffing. I think that will polish out though. It doesn't look like scratches as such. It's almost like a little scuff. And it's actually got it over here as well. It's like a finger mark. It's not as good as the Anson class, I've got to be honest. Over on the front windscreen, that's nice. Yes, that's very well done. I can't. A little bit of distortion. Can you see it there at the front of the screen? Yeah, a little bit of distortion around here. The back one again, a little bit of scuffing. Why would that be? Okay, well, and then you got instruments, very nicely done, and then you got wingtips, lights, etc., etc. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so what's our verdict then? It's a tough one, isn't it? I'm going to put that back for safety reasons. Excuse me, that does need to be protected. He's going to scuff something already. Right, so what do we think of the new Airfix 24 scale Spitfire? Excuse me. I love the box. I'm a little bit underwhelmed by the finish of it though, if I'm honest. I like the design of the box, it's just a bit flat looking, but anyway. Well, I've got to say, what don't I like? I don't like that joining, having a join down the middle. I don't see what on earth the point of that is. That's just asking for trouble. I'd love to hear the rationale now I've seen it. I also don't like the way they've done those exhaust stubs, because they've done exactly the same mistake that Tamiya made. Other manufacturers, even people like Great Wall Hobby, are doing, avoiding that kind of thing, and they're making sure that they have a screw gate contact point anywhere but on the face of it, right in the middle of the exhaust, because you've got to clean up every single exhaust. When you cut that off the sprue, you've got a right mammoth job, and I know from personal experience. So I'm a little bit disappointed in those two things. I didn't see obvious faults on the Anson like that, if I'm honest. I was really over the moon with the Anson. However, apart from, I seem to have got a little bit of scuffy canopy. I'm not sure about the clear parts. They don't seem to be quite as good. Again, not as good as the Anson. I think I'm going to give it 9 out of 10. I have to say that those can't be completely ignored. You've got 3 things there that they shouldn't have done. Well, the canopy, I'm not sure about that. It's remember, we've got another injection moulder here. I presume that they've done the clear plastic in the UK too. It's not but Airfix's best clear parts. No, I think the Anson was. That isn't. So I don't know. The Anson was done in India, I think. But anyway, I have to mark it down and give it 9 out of 10. But that's not a negative. Overall, it's £95, thereabouts. It's a big kit, and there's a lot of plastic, and there's a lot of opportunities for it to go wrong. I didn't really see, there was a few ejector pin marks, but I didn't really see any sink marks or nasty sort of flaws in the plastic. The plastic looks good, feels good. I like it a lot. 9 out of 10 is not a bad score, especially when there is such expectation around a kit, I think the Anson had expectation, but not that big, and it just blew people away because it was so good. And I still think that's Airfix's best kit, actually. This is probably a close second, thereabouts. But 1 or 2 things about when they've designed that, they've made strange choices which are going to give the modeler some problems. But don't know how it builds. Obviously, I'm sure people start building these straight away, and we'll soon find out, won't we? So anyway, there we go. So I'm giving it 9 out of 10. I think it's. I don't want to sound like I'm being negative. I think it's a beautiful kit. I think the way they've done the small parts and all the details around the engine and those cockpit detail parts, they're beautiful. The instrumentation looks good. The gun port's fantastic. I don't think it's unfair saying 9 out of 10. 9.5 would have been a bit bit generous, I think. Had the clear parts been good, it would have probably been 9.5 if I'm fair. But mine are a little bit scuffy, and they just don't look quite as perfect as I would have liked to see, like on the Anson. Anyway, that's my verdict, 9 out of 10. Thank you, Airfix, though. It's a beautiful kit. It's nice that you've actually retooled a Spitfire 24 scale. It'll build up really nicely, I'm sure. We're going to see lots of them built. And look forward to maybe doing mine one day. Hope you'll give me 10 out of 10 by smashing that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you are a subscriber, then don't forget, make sure you've dinged the notification bell to get up and coming videos. We may have, I'm probably going to have a little bit of a rest now and get some more modelling done. But we may have another interesting video that I think you'll all enjoy in the not too distant future, maybe in 2 or 3 weeks' time. And in the meantime, thank you very much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks a lot for your time. And look after yourselves. And I look forward to seeing you all very soon in the near future. But thanks a lot. And bye for now.